Yo, what is up everybody, and welcome to today's video, which is going to be a tier list for Season 14 currently. First of all, I'm super happy to announce that I'm partnering up with Tactor. It's a site where I will basically have multiple guides throughout the year. So for example, when I do an Unranked to Masters, I want to have a build guide and a rune setup guide on those guides. And for example, with this tier list, I'll have it basically summarized and everything that you find in this video, you can find written in that guide too. Since it is early season, a lot of things are subject to change because Riot is buffing and nerfing a lot of things. So this is how I currently view everything, and I try to explain it also mostly with how the meta is currently working. It's a mid to high elo tier list guide. So check it out, guys, and I hope you guys enjoy it. See you in the video.
Every move you made, I was watching you.
So let's start off with like the most broken shit, right? Like S tier is just by far the most broken. Who I think are the most broken champions right now? We're gonna make a tier list based on solo queue champions, right? And then I would say mid to high elo. So I guess Emerald to Challenger-ish, something like that. So I want to start with what I think are just by far the most broken champions. I think for top lane right now is arguably one of the strongest champions. Multiple reasons as to why. The issue that I have with Vayne as a top lane champion right now is that she is blind pickable into almost anything. She beats all melee bruisers. Her real counter picks, quote unquote, is like Malphite and maybe champions like Akali, Jax that can do like even or get some kill pressure onto her. But more so in terms of one-to-one isolated laning, she would still win. This champion is completely broken. Like Vayne top has always been a thing, right? But the skill expression is just gone. Like Vayne top players used to be, you know, you had to have a lot of skill to make Vayne top work. Because if you didn't have skill, you just die once, you're out of the game. Now with Fleet, it's really hard to punish Vayne even if she missteps or make mistakes. Because what Vayne players do right now is they go Fleet, and they go like this Boots of Swiftness, so the tier 2 boots. So they get priority in the early game. And then for complete skill combo, they go Boots of Swiftness combined with Fleet. You'll never gap close onto them. They'll have perma sustain because of Fleet. You can't really reach them, and it just feels disgusting to play. So yeah, Vayne is one of the most broken top laners as a default. Rumble, I believe, is one of the by far strongest top laners as well. Kind of the same thing as Vayne, that you can just buy and play this champion into anything. I don't feel like items right now on him are weak. Haunting guys feels pretty good as just like a core item. Lions, that's what it's called. Storm Surge, that item everybody knows. It's gonna get double nerfed, by the way. So Storm Surge will get double nerfed, and Rumble is getting nerfed, finally. So Rumble is getting nerfed and Storm Surge is getting double nerfed. I think this champion will be weaker. However, he's still extremely strong. Early laning phase, nothing will change. He's still the most obnoxious champion to play against as any melee champion, be it tank, be it a bruiser. Because his cooldowns, the problem with Rumble that I have as a champion is that there is no window almost to punish these champions besides ganks. And that is because if he just uses E and Q, you lose the trait, right? But then let's say he uses all his abilities, he just gets his passive, and then he still beats you down just with his passive. Like just with his passive, he would out damage me with a full Riven combo. Just his like overheated power damage. So I don't see a single, like from Riven perspective, there's no trade pattern, but also from tanks, other melee bruisers, there's just very little you can do against Rumble. So yeah, this champion is just broken. I think Jax is S tier for sure. And I think Riven is S tier for sure. Like these two champions are here, but are they as broken as these two? If you would compare these two champions, it's just like you always will go even or ahead on these champions. And to Jax and Riven, there is still more counterplay. There is still like losing matchups. There is still a form of counterplay. I think all these bruisers are extremely strong. Now, why do I feel like all 4 of these bruisers are very strong? Well, they skill really well, all 4 of them. They have good laning phase. The items just do very well with them. I think on Jax, you will have more versatility. What is the best build on Jax? I think Titanic Hydra is really strong on him, right? I've seen a lot of Titanic Hydra. Jax completely fist me. Sundered Sky is really good because it, like, your W is already an empowered auto attack. So the thing how Sundered Sky works is, or I believe, is when you hit somebody, the tooltip, it says you crit them for 150% of your AD, but it's actually 175%, so it's similar to a normal crit. But if your attack that you use it with is already empowered, such as a Jax W or a Aatrox passive auto attack, the buffs that you get are like enhanced. And that's why Sundered Sky is such a good item on Jax W. It's such a good item on Aatrox passive because the healing is just amplified, the damage is amplified. I think that's why those champions are performing so well, right? That's just Aatrox and Jax. I think Sundered Sky is just amazing items on these champions. Titanic is really good on him. I think Sojourn and Eclipse, like all the bruiser items, they just do really well on these champions. Fiora Riven, about Riven, I feel like Riven is very strong. It's a little bit more matchup reliant for Riven. Like, out of all of these top planers, I feel like if we look at these top 6 top laners right now, I feel like Riven has, you know, the worst matchups. I don't think either of these top laners can lane against these 2 champions, right? But Riven still, I feel like, has the hardest time. But also, if Riven gets ahead, she'll snowball the hardest. So there's like that double-edged sword, right? If Riven gets ahead, I feel like if I get ahead in this season, it feels extremely unfair to play against. If I'm like ahead 1 item in the curve, it is so impossible to kill Riven. Solid Sky is amazing on her. Death Stance is really good right now. Sojourn, Eclipse, all really good. So I feel like Riven is really, really strong. Compared to the old season, I do feel like Riven has a bit less carry potential in my feeling of the games that I've played thus far. You don't have Hydra. You don't like full go like 12 CS per minute, full vacuum clean the map and like, you know, just kill everybody on sideline. You just join a team fight with Sunlit Sky and you like one-shot a target and then boom, you just win the game from that. That's how I feel like it's played out mostly right now. You don't play silent as much anymore. I feel like I'm more leaning towards team fights a lot of the time. But yeah, if you hit that 3 to 4 item spike on Riven, I feel like the game's just over. Fiora, I don't know too much about her. I think her items haven't changed that much. I think you just go Hydra first or Eclipse first and then you switch it with the other one. Trinity Force is still an item. Hullbreaker is still decent on her. She just skills amazingly well. I'm not sure if Sunlit Sky is a good item on her. Okay, so let's just go in alphabetical order. I think Akali actually is S tier too. Like if I look at Akali as well, she does well into pretty much all of these champions besides Rumble. I mean, Rumble, she will outscale the Rumble. But if you look at all 6 of these champions and you'd say like, who is good against all 4 of these melee bruises? Akali is one of them, right? Some matchups are more skill centered. For example, Fiora Akali is more skill. Or Riven Akali rather is more skill. But I mean, she still does pretty well into all of these champions. So I think Akali is S tier. Now, the weird thing is I've seen some AD Akali builds and I've seen some AP Akali builds. AP items are very strong by default, right? We know that like Storm Surge, but it's getting double nerfed. I think she has pretty good items. I mean, I guess you could put Akali in counter pick though. That is true. She is a really good counter pick, but she does well into all of the current really good performing top laners. She has an AD build, she's an AP build, she's very versatile. I think this champion is very strong right now. Like in the past, I would refrain from playing Akali top. I think right now she's in one of the best spots she has been in a long time. Ahri top gets played with Fleet, but if you play that, you're pig. I'm not gonna put it up there. Camille. I feel like Camille suffered pretty hard because of the changes in terrain, right? Less walls, lanes are wider. Ultimately, you can't really utilize your E during the laning phase. The items on her are still pretty strong. I stopped playing Camille myself because I find it uncomfortable to lane with such, you know, such a wide lane. But it's like in both sides of the laning phase, if you're close to your turret, Camille feels stronger because the walls are like, it's like a more narrow space, right? It's a little bit more, I guess, claustrophobic. But yeah, she will get buffed next patch though. But if you look also as Camille and then you'll see all of these champions, like Camille can only play realistically against like Riven and Aatrox. All these other matchups she gets shafted by. So I think the champion is kind of B tier or A tier. She's getting double buffs, right? She is getting some buffs. So that might put her in A tier. But if all of these champions are this strong, right? And Camille, her terrain got nerfed, I just think this champion is B tier. How I'm also going to fill out this tier list is what you have to keep in mind is if these champions are really strong and they're being played that often, then how do you fit in Camille in there, right? Because that's the logical approach. These are the best champions, so we're also kind of designing the tier list around these champions, because once there's a meta, and these champions are the meta, right? Like, they are all at the top. Like, if you look at this, how would you fit in Camille here? Yeah, it just doesn't really work. Right, Cassiopeia, I think this champion kind of benefited from the changes happening in the lane. I think this champion is very strong in top lane. You could argue that she's more of a counter pick, but even as a blind pick top laner right now, I feel like this champion actually does very well. I'm hesitating between S and A. The problem with Cassiopeia is that she's very skill expressive, right? You need a lot of skill to make this champion work. She has a very high skill ceiling, but she does pretty well into almost every meta champion top lane that we have here, right? So she is very good into the current meta that we have. So then you could argue we best put her in counter pick, but yeah, I'm not surprised to see her at 53% win rate. I think the champion is very strong right now, especially if you are a little bit skilled on her. And the difference between Akali and Cassiopeia is I feel like Cassiopeia is extremely good at farming, extremely good at side laning, taking over the game, good in team fights, and yeah, so I feel like the champion kind of does everything. I mean, Cho'Gath is just shit. I don't know what else to say. Like, look at these champions. Are you gonna play Cho'Gath into any of these champions? No, it's shit. Darius, I feel like is between A and S tier. I think he is decent with the current items. I mean, what would you build on Darius right now? I think Sundered Sky is really good, right? Because his W is one of the highest damage amplifiers. So I think if you land Sundered Crit on your W, that's pretty disgusting. He loses super hard against Rumble. I mean, against Rumble Vayne, I think he struggles a lot. Cassiopeia shits on him. Jax, Riven, Fiora, skill matchups. Aatrox, he wins. I'm putting him at A, but I want to verify again with stats. Because I think this is the first time I also make a tier list with stats. Yeah, I think A is pretty accurate. And again, we can subtract a little bit or add a little bit, right? But it's way better than a champion like Camille. So I think A is like fair. Mundo, I think, is just counterpick. Mundo is a very situational champion for multiple reasons. Mundo is a very bad blind pick, because anything that deals percentage health damage already counts this champion completely. Anything he wants to do is centered around getting health, and you blind pick it, or you counter pick this champion into draws where enemy team basically does not have champions that deal a lot of percentage health damage with their kit, or can build a lot of percentage health items such as like blade drinking, stuff like that. Yeah, Mundo is more of a counter pick champion. I've not even seen Gangplank, so I think that's already a tell that he's probably pretty shit. My guess would be B or A. Is he as bad as Camille? I don't know. Did I play a single game against Gangplank thus far? I just don't know. I don't know what the champion does. I genuinely don't know. Yeah, okay. Well, he's probably gonna have a little bit of a negative win rate. Also, if I look at the meta, I don't think Gangplank likes playing against these champions too much. I think he's on par with Camille. Probably feels a little bit lackluster. I feel like this is just like a nerf for him in general, right? Because he's legit still just goes the exact same build that he used to, but I just don't feel like it's better for him. So I feel like the champion is probably pretty underpowered right now. Is D tier necessary? I don't think so, by the way. We just keep this. I don't think D tier is necessary. Here we go, counter pick. If your champion is below C tier, it shouldn't even be mentioned. Let's take a look at Garen and a look at the meta champions. Would you like to play against any of these champions? Riven maybe, but any other champion, you get shafted by it. So I think this champion has to be B or C tier, right? And again, like even all these champions shit on Garen. And so with how the meta is currently shaded, I just don't think this champion has really a place to play. He's getting buffed. He's getting a massive buff, by the way. So right now, I believe how Garen W's work is if you use W, you get damage reduction for 2 seconds. And the way it works is every second you upgrade your ability, or every time you upgrade your W ability, you get an extra point. But you start upgrading your W from level 14, right? So normally at level 17, you would have 4 seconds of damage reduction on your W. Right now, they're going to give you that at level 3 when you select your W. So Garen is getting a massive buff, and that is probably required because, I mean, this current meta is probably, shitting on Garen. Oh, shit, that champion is useless. I guess it's even a tier below Gangplank and Camille. I thought B tier was safe, but I guess it's C tier. Holy shit. This is one of my favorite champions last season, by the way. And I was enjoying this champion a lot. I was also recommending people to play Garen. I don't think you should play Garen right now, man. Yeah, you don't play Garen right now. That champion is poo-poo. Gragas, I think he's A tier. I think AP Gragas top actually has a place. He's getting a buff, which is very weird to me because I felt like this champion is already pretty good. He does decent into like the meta champions that we have here, right? I think Aatrox kind of can destroy him, but Gragas is really on to Riven, is really on to Jax. Fiora, I feel like it's a more so skill matchup, but I think Gragas can still do completely fine. Vayne Rumble Gragas, I'm not too sure about. I feel like just Vayne Rumble would just always still get ahead, but I feel like Gragas is pretty strong right now. Given the meta that we have, she also does decent against these, so I don't think the champion deserved a buff. I think he's pretty strong. Something like this, I feel like core issue that you generally speaking have with the champion like Gragas is that he's very skill expressive, right? So there is that. I would put the champion on A tier myself. I think he's A tier. All right, Gwen. I find this champion hard to place. The problem with a champion like Gwen is I feel like she's been buffed and nerfed multiple times already now. I think the HP items on her are very strong, but if you look at the meta, right? Gwen loses against all of these champions, goes even maybe into Aatrox and like Darius, she can kind of outplay, but it's still a really tricky matchup. So like Gwen loses against all the meta champions, but her AP items are so strong, once you get to like the 2-3 items, you just take over the game. I think this champion was more so balanced around lower elo, not high elo, because Gwen is just a shit champion at high elo because you can barely get away with blind picks. They give a pretty big buff on her passive next patch. I guess she's sitting around A here. I would put her in B myself, given the meta, but I guess she's actually still playing pretty well. I just want to see how Gwen would perform in the Massive Plus scenario. Because I would say the lower MMR you go, the better the champions would perform, but I think the higher you go, the worse it would get. That would be my guess, but there's too little data too. B tier is fine for her, and that is because she is just so bad at blind picking and she kind of almost loses against all these meta champions. Gnar, I don't know. It's like the Ezreal top lane. It's probably B tier, maybe A tier. I don't know how good the new items are on him. I mean, 24 is probably decent, right? I don't know how this champion performs. I genuinely don't know. I also never really see him, so I wouldn't know. Like, this one I just have to check. B plus, where did I put him? B. I think this is fine. I don't really have an opinion on Gnar. How I see Gnar is it's just like the Ezreal top lane. You're just lane secure. You know, you'll go even probably. It's just the jack of all trades, master of none. I know it is inflation. It is 0.8 inflation. I know that. Or 0.75 it says here. It keeps switching too. So, Illaoi, I think the champion is dog shit. I think it's getting massive buffs too. They're giving this champion massive buffs. And I think, like, look at these meta champions. You know, she can do okay against Riven, but she doesn't even need a hard win against Riven. I think the items just are not good on her right now. Past, her items are very strong. I just guess because it's not a mythic anymore, they're not doing that well. Where is she? Yeah, I mean, well, yeah. That champion is useless. Don't touch her. I'd put Cassandra into this meta as well, in between B and A. So it's kind of like, Flip, where are you? Like, it's either A or B tier. I think it's A tier because of how good of a blind pick he still is, and you can always just go even. That's just Cassandra's kit. You can always go even, but like, when we look at this meta, I don't think you like to play Cassandra that much. Talk about Singed, but I think Singed is disgustingly broken. And you know it. The champion had massive nerfs, I believe. Rightfully so. That champion does it very well with the new items. As SD, right? There is nothing else to talk about. Like, he does so well with the new items. New items that are perfect on him. I feel like mythics being removed is a good thing for Singed. He never really liked building mythic items that much anyways. I don't think this guy had like a core mythic that you'd be like, oh, this is super good on Singed. I think new Liandry's is very good on him too. So I feel like this champion is just I think he's also super far up, right, in the win rate. Like, this champion had a ridiculous win rate. Yeah, I don't know, this champion is as good as the other champions. I think he also does pretty well to all of these melee bruiser meta champions, right? I don't want to play Station to Vayne top, but you can also just proxy and avoid the matchup. I think Irelia fell off pretty hard. Pretty shit right now. Again, look at the meta champions. Do you want to play Irelia? I guess into Aatrox it's playable, but into most other champions in the top lane here, it's not that playable. I'm curious to see how she does though with the item changes, because Irelia was also a champion that didn't necessarily need a mythic, right? Because you'd go Playroom King, Wit's End on a lot of your games, but both items have been completely changed. So I don't know how hard that hit her, actually. I don't see many Irelia players. I guess her win rate is actually better than I'd assume. Oh yeah, you go Sunlit Sky, that's true. I'm not sure. Seeing Irelia at a positive win rate is pretty weird to see in general. Of course, it is a little bit skewed, but her rank is higher than I would anticipate. Also, I don't think she tends to do too well into most of these meta champions, right? Like, I would favor most of these champions into Irelia instead of like having Irelia. So I think B tier is like solid for her, but I could be wrong. Given the meta, it's safer to put her in B tier. Jayce. I mean, this champion is extremely skill expressive, and that's why it's always hard to put them in a solo queue tier list, because there is no good Jayce players, me included. Like, I have probably 300, 400, maybe 500 Jayce games, and I still suck complete dick at this champion. This champion is just so hard to play well. Looking at the meta champions, he can kind of go decent to all the champions, right? Riven, or he does very well to Riven. Can really beat Fiora if you know what you're doing. It's fine to Aatrox Jax. Jax can be tricky, but you have multiple tricks to win the Jax matchup too. For example, I'm not a huge Jayce fan myself, but I do know that, for example, if Jax were to start Q, you just go W, you hard win. If he goes E, you just select E, you still hard win, or you can just always go Q and like keep the range that way. I think he does decent to almost all of these champions. He does very well. Now I just want to see his win rates, because I think he's doing well. I put him in A tier. Holy moly. Damn, that's pretty horrific. I mean, I know it's a hard solo queue champion, but I didn't expect it to be this bad, by the way. Jayce is a very good counter to Vayne, not per se. I don't know, I think this champion is like fine. I don't know, it's hard to compare win rates to how strong a champion is in theory, but I think maybe he is B tier then. This is a hard one. He can't stack armor pen anymore. That's fair, but you can still go... I've seen some players go Profane Hydra on Jayce, and like you can still go like Profane Hydra, Sterex, all the Dirk items, right? You don't necessarily need the armor pen. I feel like this champion is still very versatile. I think his inspiration tree is also very interesting. Like, I think Jayce is one of the best champions that can utilize this. All of these are so good on Jayce. I don't know, I feel like this champion is ridiculously strong, but the win rates don't lie, right? That they are very bad. So that's interesting to see. I mean, Kayle, I think it's C tier. I think it's a dog shit champion. Look at all these meta champions. How are you gonna play Kayle? That's always been like that in high elo. I've seen one kill, by the way, and that champion was dog shit. Like, I'm kind of surprised to see that this champion... I mean, I guess it's better than these three shitters, but I feel like this champion is still so bad. I'm so surprised to see that Kayle is performing well, even in higher MMRs. Like, what if I put this to Masters Plus? No way this champion does well, right? Oh, still performing alright. And it's AP build too. That even seems like, that's even more weird for me. Because I feel like the best setup you generally speaking have on kill if you want to survive laning phase is the 80s build path, like Kraken Slayer item. And I don't see how kill gets to survive against the current meta that we have. Okay, AP items are OP. That's a good counter argument. I do think AP items are very strong. I wouldn't put her higher than B tier. I'm not gonna put her. I don't think she's as strong as these three. I think then B tier is safe. Maybe not C tier. I expect her to be C tier, but I guess she's doing better than I anticipated. Kennen. I mean, Kennen does very well into all these meta champions, right? Kennen shits on all four of these, like the four people. I think he can do even into Rumble against Vayne. I'm not too sure. Probably goes even too. Like, Kennen might be S tier even, but I think he's too skill expressive, so he'd probably be A tier, but let's see. A tier here. I'm gonna check him here too. I think Kennen is, like, APIs are also buffed, right? So this champion is, you know, destined to do decently fine, also with the current meta. So yeah, I think A tier is a very safe placing for him. Again, I'm mainly deciding also because like, this is the meta for top lane right now, right? These champions are the best, so I'm also skewing champions around the meta. Kennen is S easy. I don't think he's S tier. I don't think he's that good. I think he's strong. I think he's good into the meta. I think out of these A tier champions, I would put Kennen S tier first, but I don't think he's as strong as the champions that are currently in S tier. Do you Kled? Have I even seen Kled? I think I played one game against the Kled. I played one game against the Kled. That is the issue as well with making a tier list for me in the early season. It's like, I have so little knowledge on certain champions. Like, I don't know about Kled. It's such a niche champion too, so we just gotta check. I just gotta check it. Damn! Wait, what? He's performing very well. That's surprising, actually. I didn't expect this champion to be performing that well. I mean, if I look at the meta champions, I wouldn't expect him to perform that well. Like, without seeing stats, I would probably put him in B tier myself. Again, I rarely see the champion. What build do you go? I mean, I can see Titanic. Actually, I remember one game where I had a Kled in mid lane against an assassin, and he completely took over the game with Titanic Hydra. I remember that, and he gets ridiculously tanky with this and still one-shots people. And I guess he skills well because you get access to Sundered Sky on this champion too. Because the problem that I find very often with Kled as a champion, he's fully dependent on items, and very often in the past, like before Mythics, this champion would just like, I mean, even with Mythics, he would just go like Gore Drinker, he'd be strong, and then he gets outskilled. But right now, I guess he can go build past. But now, I guess he can scale because Sundered Sky, Titanic combo. Sundered Sky Titanic is a really disgusting combo, by the way. You one-shot anything with that, and Kled is pretty easy with hitting that. So I guess with the new items, this champion is stronger than I had anticipated. Because Sundered Sky and Titanic Hydra, that combo is disgusting, by the way. This would maybe also be an interesting champion to do unranked 2 Masters. LeBlanc top, similar to like Ahri top with Fleet. If you play this, I don't know, bro, you're a pig. Malphite go. I feel like this champion is a counter pick. You don't blind pick this champion ever. You do not blind pick Malphite. There's too many champions that expose him. Also too many champions in general, like in other lanes. But counter pick to this amazing champion. That's all that has to be said. B+ with a positive win rate. I think the champion is fine. It's counter pick. Yeah, he's pretty good. Pretty solid. Mordekaiser, this is a dog shit champion. Look at the meta. You'll get fisted by any of these champions. I mean, maybe you get to farm against Singed, but like all these champions destroy him. Or I would be very surprised to see Mordekaiser have a somewhat good win rate. Like, he has to be at the bottom. Oh my days. How? Yeah, okay, but like, that's the thing. Okay, so AP items are good, fair. But the higher you go, the more shit this champion will become. Like, I'm telling you, Mordekaiser is kind of the same as Gwen. It's like, the lower MMR you go, the stronger this champion will be, by the way. The higher elo you get, like, trust me, I have not seen a Mordekaiser game in a very long time. And if this is the meta, Mordekaiser belongs here. Like, okay, fair, AP items are strong, so he can go here. But no, like, with this meta, I refuse. If I see a Mordekaiser and I play these champions, like, Mordekaiser will get shafted. I mean, Nasus, is that guy even worth talking about? I don't think this champion is good for high elo too. I can't imagine this guy has a somewhat affordable win rate. Oh, this champion is just poo-poo. Nasus is one of my favorite champions to play, actually, though. He's extremely fun, but he is so situational, like, he is so reliant on having a somewhat decent... Yeah, I don't know, this champion is dog shit. I mean, what is to be said? Can you blind pick him? No. Can you survive against current meta? Hell no. Does he have good items? What do you even build on this champion? So no, you're just a walking pile of shit. I don't know, that champion is shit. Olaf. I haven't seen much of Olaf. My guess would be A tier. He can go toe-to-toe with some of these melee bruisers that are like very strong right now. I'm just not sure if he benefited much from the items. I guess that's the biggest takeaway, right? Like, what items would he go? I don't think he really wants to go for these Hydra items. Trinity Force is not the best on him either. It's very situational. I guess the removal of Strikebreaker probably put Olaf in a weaker position too. I feel like he's still a very strong melee bruiser and he wins a lot of laning phase just by, you know, his champion. But yeah, I feel like it's hard to make the champion more consistent. What do you build on him now? What do they buy on on him. Hydra Strikebreaker, is that really correct? This seems so weak. This item is so weak in the game right now. I guess you still build Strikebreaker on the champion, but it just sounds so weak. Maximum, he's A tier. I even struggle putting him in A tier. I think he's between B and A tier. I don't think he's that strong. I don't think he benefited much from the items. He was stronger before. In the past, he was S tier. Right now, he's not. New items is not S tier at all. I would put him in B tier myself. I don't think he's an A tier champion. Ornn. I haven't seen much Ornn, but I think he's pretty decent. My guess is between B and A tier. Like, Ornn is just always a staple tank. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of bugs with Ornn as well, with like his item upgrades right now that mythics are removed, so you don't upgrade mythics anymore. You can upgrade a lot of different items, and I saw some tweets of Macro as well that this item is like pretty bugged. So I don't know. The only person that I know that plays a champion as well is Macro, right? So I don't really see Ornn players. Das ist nicht gut. I mean, the problem is that, as always, you're playing a tank in solo queue and you're reliant on your surrounding, you're reliant on your team. I think B tier is probably safe for him. You look at the meta champions. Would you want to play Ornn against these champions? No, I wouldn't want to really play against them. So yeah, I think B tier is probably pretty safe for him. Pantheon? I haven't seen much Pantheon. What does this item or champion want to build now? I think Eclipse is good on him. Solid Sky is pretty good on him. Not sure about Sojourn. Solid Sky is good. You just go lethality items? What do you build on him? I'd assume him to be pretty good. That's pretty shit. Did these bruisers just benefit more of the items than Pantheon has done? I feel like he can go like pretty fine in some of these matchups. I don't know. It's very surprising for me to see what builds, what items do you go on this champion? Yeah, okay, that's what I expected. You actually do go Sojourn or Sterak's, not lethality. I feel like this champion gets really nice spike here, but then kind of falls off. I think the champion has a scaling issue right now. He just gets outscaled by everything, and that's why Pantheon probably feels pretty bad to play right now. In the previous seasons, Pantheon would scale really well with Eclipse as a mythic. I think this champion is actually pretty shit right now. I put him in B tier. Pantheon is a very strong melee bruiser champion. I just think he was way stronger previous season, and right now I think this champion probably has a scaling issue. I'm not 100% sure. The only Pantheon player that I know is Spearshot, of course, but I think his transitioning from like mid to late is probably pretty weak. Other bruisers just abuse the items better than he does. Poppy, I'd expect Poppy to be A or maybe even S tier. Like, Poppy does well into most of these meta champions. I'm just not sure how good the tank items benefited her. I've seen some crazy clips of Poppy with Sundered Sky though. I feel like Poppy has been a very broken hidden top laner for a very long time. Well, not per se hidden, but like a champion that people just don't want to pick up, me included. I don't like playing the champion myself, but I do believe that she is extremely strong. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see her here. She also does pretty well into these melee champions, right? Like, she does very well into all 4 of these. I mean, Aatrox I'm not 100% sure about, but she hard shits on these 3. These, of course, would just still shit on Poppy. But yeah, I think Poppy is a very good spot right now. Is she as strong as these champions? I think A tier is more comfortable, because she's also a little bit more reliant on the draft than these champions are. So I think A tier is safe, but out of all of these champions, I would put her then first now in S tier. Yes, she is the definition of a counter pick, but I feel like she's actually not bad as a blind pick right now, because there's so many dashes in the game, right? Even if there's like random champions, like let's say a Lee Sin jungle or like a Kalista AD carry or like a Rakan support, Poppy is still really, really good. So it's not only matchup reliant. Like, Poppy will always find value in the game, unless there's like a draft that full shits on Poppy, right? But that's pretty rare. Renekton, I feel like this champion is really dog shit. Inherently, what has always been the issue with Renekton is he falls off, right? He doesn't scale well. That has always been the issue with Renekton. And I don't see how any of the current item options that you have as Renekton fix that issue. I think Titanic Hydra is probably pretty good on this champion. I think this champion has just, you know, gotten even harder with the changes. I think he doesn't really have good item options. I mean, Titanic Hydra Spear of Sojourn sounds kind of funny on him, but why would you play Titanic Hydra Spear of Sojourn on Renekton when you can do it on a champion like Kled that just does it 10 times better? Or play these bruises, right? So I think this champion probably has a low win rate. Yeah, I mean, yeah. He's in such a bad spot right now, similar to Garen. Last season, these were the 2 top laners that I'd recommend for everybody to play, but Renekton is just so shit right now. Rengar, I think Rengar I've in past seasons always put Rengar in S tier in my tier list, and I've always said that if you're looking for a niche top laner that a lot of people don't really know how to play against, and you can utilize all the fundamentals on him. So you have like an aggressive early laning phase, you can look to play aggressive with your level up timers, you can 1v9 games, you have a very versatile playstyle. You can go like, I don't know, for a more conqueror oriented setup, or you can go for a more grass sustaining type of setup. I think this champion is extremely versatile in top lane, very fun to play. I mean, the bushes, even though the lane got larger, the bushes didn't really change, so I still think this champion plays the exact same as he would before. I'm not 100% sure on how the items work for him. I think it's either A or S tier. Yeah, do you really go full lethality on the champion in top lane? I guess you go Fleet, huh? Ah, you go Fleet on this champion. That's kind of disgusting. This is another champion that I'd like to play on Ranked to Masters, by the way. Like, this champion seems extremely fun to play. This champion is a menace. Alright, this is the third champion. Guys, thus far we have Jayce, Kled, and Rengar. Those are the champions that I want to do my first on Ranked to Masters with. Yeah, I think Rengar's S tier. I didn't expect him to be S tier, but I guess he is. I wouldn't say he does too well to all of these top laners, but I guess he does because he just has Fleet. He's like, one of the greatest things that got removed from almost every bruiser is sustain, right? There's not a lot of items that give healing anymore for a lot of bruisers, like Hydra or Gore Drinker or Divine Sunderer, right? All of these three core mythics would give sustain, right? If you hit people with Divine, you get healing. If you hit people with Gore Drinker or with Hydra, you had built-in sustain as well. There's a lot of top players right now that don't have access to that anymore, such as Riven. However, Rengar has infinite sustain, right? It's W,
because he's
Fleet.
People take him seriously.
So I guess he's actually S tier because of that. Quinn, how is Quinn performing right now? Realistically, when I look at the meta champions, I'd say that she'd probably do pretty well. It's either in my view, it's probably A or S tier. Quinn is also disgusting because right now she is also that range top laner that can abuse Fleet as well, which is just, you know, borderline annoying. Paired with tier 2 boots and or even Storm Razor, you get three things that give you movement speed, right? You get Fleet, you get tier 2 boots, you get Storm Razor that you can never catch the champion. Your skills runs them out the map, makes your life miserable. I assume this champion has a pretty good win rate, but I could be wrong. How is she B+ with this win rate? This champion is very strong. Like, a minimum A tier, maybe S tier. No way. Like, that champion is way stronger than him. I think this champion is strong. Not turbo strong, but definitely strong. Set. Isn't Set, like, pretty shit? I feel like Set kind of has the same problem with Renekton. I haven't seen a single Set top player in high elo yet. I think Set has the same problem like Renekton that I'm saying is that this champion really liked Mythics, although he was already pretty weak back then. Strike Break was good on him. I think Gore was decent on him as well. What would you even build that champion right now? Titanic Hydra, I suppose. Titanic Hydra sounds decent. Sundered Sky, maybe. Champions like Sterak's are probably decent for him, but I just don't think, like, look at these meta champions. How are you going to play Set? Against what? Let me pick Set against Riven, I guess. Aatrox is a skill matchup. The rest, I think, just shits on you. I can't expect or imagine this champion's win rate to be high. The lower elo you go, the better the champion will be, and that is because the champion is a good stat check champion. And you're unironically giving your opponents like a 55% plus chance to win the game unlocking this. I don't know. The higher you go, the worse the champion gets. He's a stat check champion. He's a lot of, you know, damage and, you know, melee range. He just shits on champions, but you know how to play around that and sustain. This champion will not do well ever, so he's just shit. Sion, I think, is also really trash. It's, you know, look at these meta champions. If you guys ever played Sion, is there Sion players on my chat right now? You know that if you play against any of the champions above there right now, you hate your life. You cannot blind pick him. The only time I play Sion is when my enemy top laner picks Malphite and it's decent against the rest of their comp. Only when they pick Malphite would I consider Sion. Else, I never pick Sion. I think the champion is shit. I haven't seen Shen yet. I expected to see a lot more Shen. I think Shen. So, like, I expected Shen to be played a lot more with the introduction of Titanic Hydra again, because you actually get wave clear on Shen, and you actually get an item that you can build towards. I haven't seen Shen at all. I'd expect him to perform decent, actually. Here, C+, somewhat positive. No, it's still negative win rate. I'd expected this champion to actually be decent again with the introduction of Titanic. Oh, Shen is getting a buff +4 basic. I actually read that too. Yeah, I think right now it's just too weak. I think right now he's too weak to do anything. +4 basically is pretty nice for him, I think, but I don't think it fixes his core issues, but he gets a little bit more, I guess, straight aggression in lane. I think he's better than these champions, though. I think he's B tier then. I don't think it gets better. I think he's better than C tier, but I don't, like, he's scraping B tier. Like, he's not the strong champion. I haven't seen him at all. I thought he'd do better with the introduction of reintroduction of Titanic Hydra being an item active, but I guess not, which is surprising. I saw the champion played in a competitive game as well in the LFL, and he did pretty decent against the Jax pick. I guess Shen kind of is like a counter pick. Kind of, right? I think situationally this champion can be really good. I'm surprised to see him perform that poorly. Tahm Kench, I mean, is he a top laner? I don't know. I don't see Tahm Kench in high elo ever. No wave clear. So team. No, this champion is dog shit, bro. This champion is just shit. In high elos. In low elos, it's decent because it's a stat checking champion, right? What do you even build on him? If you play this, just play Ornn or play Malphite. Like, you would already do better. Or Cassante. Don't play Tahm Kench, just a tank. Teemo. I think Teemo is a very interesting champion. I mean, I'd put him in A tier as like my guess, but I could be wrong. Just when I look at the meta, I feel like he does decently well in the meta. He could even be S tier, honestly. Might actually be S tier. Like, he does pretty well against all of these champions. He skills really well. AP items are very good on him. But he's gotten nerfed like, I think 4 times already. Like 4 nerfs. Well, how is he performing in terms of win rate? How's he B+ with this win rate? This champion has received a shit ton of nerfs. If it wasn't for, I think he's gotten nerfed 4 times before. Maybe before the nerfs he was S tier, maybe now he's A tier. And again, he's also a ranged top laner that likes to play fleet, aka you go fleet, you go tier 2 boots, you are unkillable, you get the skill, you suck the life enjoyment out of anybody, right? You play these 2 champions, you hate your opponents, but you probably hate yourself too. That's just the most annoying thing you have in top lane right now is ranged top laners with fleet that rush tier 2 boots, because it's like there's no skill in there. There's like just nothing in terms of skill in there. And that's what I really dislike. Like in the past, if you play like Teemo top without fleet, if you make a mistake, you'll get punished. If you play aggressive, you play well, you get far ahead, right? Which is something that I like. It actually has skill expression. When you go fleet, you rush tier 2 boots, there's no skill expression involved. Trundle, did he benefit from the new items? I don't think so. I put him in B tier, like thinking about it. I think all these meta champions take a shit on him. Trundle, you also don't see that much in high elo in general. Trundle is just not a good high elo top lane champion. You're a mobile champion and you are very feast or famine. You want level 1 cheeses. You want to get early solo kills. If your opponents don't give you those, you kind of fall off. You get outskilled. And then your Wincon is playing for split push, but if you're not ahead, it's hard to split push. The lower MMR you go, the better Trundle will be. He's one of the better stat check champions. He is the strongest level 1 champion in the game, actually, for top lane with lethal tempo. I just don't think this champion has benefited from the item changes. He actually has a better win rate than I anticipated. You go Trinity, Hydra, Hole. Interesting. I'd expected him to have a little bit lower win rate, but let's see. Ooh. No, that's very surprising. But you see the point I'm making, right? Is the higher elo you go, the worse the champion gets. Like here in Emerald, like exactly like I stated, it's doing extremely well. And then the higher elo you get, like here it's still performing decent, right? Diamond Plus, but then Diamond 2, you already see, you know, it's not doing that well. And then Master Plus, it just falls off. Yeah, I think Trundle is very fine here in B tier. It's better than these pieces of shit for sure, but he's not better than any of the champions here. Kind of makes me reconsider champions like Jayce. Like, I feel like Jayce is actually better than B tier, but it's hard. It's so hard. Tryndamere, I'm not sure about. Like, the Tryndamere player that I, of course, always know is Rangers. He's very proficient on the champion, but when I look at the meta champions, I don't think Tryndamere does too well. Did he benefit from the item changes? I think somewhat. I think this champion kind of had awkward mythics, right? He'd go Strikebreaker a lot of the time. Or Navori, right? It was Strikebreaker or Navori. I think he's kind of just okay. He's not good. I think he's just okay. Unless you're Rangers. If you're Rangers, you'll probably do very well. Again, this is also a champion that tends to do better the lower MMR you go. Oh, that is horrific, by the way. I think B tier is safe for them. Kind of very similar to Trundle. These champions play very similar. Olaf as well. Like Olaf, Tryndamere, and Trundle, they play very similar. And yeah, they're all kind of in the same position. Yeah, which is fine because these are the meta champions again. Maokai, I wouldn't, like, if you play Maokai top, I respect it. But it's like playing blindfolded or like deciding I'm going to play League of Legends with one hand. Maokai top, you're not going to have fun. Udyr. Now, this champ is very interesting. It's getting spam picked in LEC or like not even LEC, like what's it called? In higher just professional play in general, right? Because it's probably it's a very stable champion. I've said, if you guys were here before like the past season, I have always said Udyr and Rengar are the only 2 junglers that I will play on Rank 2 Master with because they're actually good and they're they're niche champions, right? That are just very good in top lane. I also said that Udyr is high-key one of my worst matchups as Riven, and I have mental block playing against the champion, and right now it is one of the best performing top laners in terms of blind pickability and like how strong you are. However, I think the champion probably is not gonna have the best win rate because people don't know how to itemize him well from what I've seen and are not too proficient on him. Oh, this is jungle, by the way. Ooh, no, it's... What? That's weird. Master's performing very well. It's all over the place, kind of, but for high elo, I think the champion will do very well. I mean, it's between S and A tier. In terms of solo queue environment, this champion is probably A tier. In competitive, this is one of the most broken champions because you just always go even in lane. It's good for like Herald Scares, all that stuff. Urgot, not too sure about the champion. My guess would be B tier because of the meta champions. He's stronger than these, weaker than all of these. I can't imagine this. Yeah, he's doing decent. I think the Titanic Hydra has probably put him in a better position. Titanic Hydra, Cleaver. You don't even go Titanic on this champion, really. I thought the champion would be pretty good. Yeah, you can go Titanic, right? I guess it's also a champion that likes to play Fleet. Yeah, I mean, he's actually doing better than anticipated. Maybe he's A tier. It's kind of hard to judge. I haven't played against many Urgot players. There is very few Urgot players in high elo. What I have said in my past tier list in Season 13 is that Urgot will be one of the biggest champions that benefit from mythics being removed, because Urgot never really had a mythic where you're like, I want that mythic. Vladimir, I think this champion is actually performing pretty well. In the past, I think Vladimir was always a champion I didn't even want to put in my tier list because he just get outskilled after one like mythic item, but I think now he actually does very well. I'm curious to see his win rate in the higher elos. He's scraping positive, but he's not really played in top lane, right? He's mainly played in mid lane. One of the few champions that, of course, has sustain as a top laner, which is pretty rare right now, right? There's not that many top laners besides if you go fleet that just have a lot of built-in sustain. He seems to be doing better on mid lane than on top lane. In mid lane, he's doing very well. I guess the current top laners are just taking a shit on him still. I guess when I take a look at these top laners, I can see why they still take a shit on Vladimir in lane. I don't know. The champion is like either B tier or C tier. Is he worse than these champions? No. I feel like... Oh, that's a bad question. Is he better than these champions, right? I think slightly, but not with the large margin. I just still think these meta champions all kind of just are doing things better than Vladimir. Volibear, it's shit. Like, you get shafted by everything. I can't expect him to be high win rate. I mean, this champion is a walking pile of, you know, in lower elo, it's a good stat check champion. It's annoying to lane against. In high elo, you just don't do anything. You're like a worse Trundle. You do exactly the same thing that Seth wants to do. You kind of do the same thing that Illaoi wants to do. I just don't think the champion works in high elo ever. I don't have to say much about Volibear. Akshan is interesting to me. I mean, he's one of those champions that is like range top. You can go fleet or PTA, but I think if you want, you know, to have a free laning phase where you have zero skill expression and still do decent, you just go fleet. I'd assume this champion to be A tier. I don't think he's S tier. He can really, you know, make life of some of these laners pretty annoying. He's always fine in lane, but the problem with Akshan is he's actually one of the highest skill ceiling champions in top lane, because if you make one mistake on Akshan, you'll actually be completely useless. Like if you make one mistake on Vayne, you're still fine. You make the same mistake on Akshan, you'll be out of the game. I do think Akshan has a very oppressive laning phase, but again, you make that one crucial mistake, you're out of the game. I mean, this winner is kind of crazy though. I mean, it's either S tier or A tier. It's kind of very similar to Poppy for me, where like Akshan and Poppy, they're both very close to S tier, but I'm not sure if they're actually S tier. A tier? Could be S tier if you're really good on him, but he's very hard to pull off as well. Warwick, I was talking with Hornlime a bit as well, and he seems to be struggling more with the current Warwick, right? With the removal of his mythic. I see kind of a pattern where the old champions that used to go Iceborne second, like Illaoi, Warwick, are kind of struggling right now, which is surprising to me. I did not expect that. I thought, like, yesterday I also laned against Warwick, and that champion with the new Titanic Hydra, like Q Titanic, just took away a third of my HP instantly in one trade. So I expect this champion to be pretty strong. I think he is also pretty strong. When I see him in jungle, he performs very well. I think in top lane he's also decent. Yeah, you know, he's doing well. Okay, the high... Whoa. Now, high elo you go though, it seems to be underperforming, but you also shouldn't play Little Temple, by the way. You should go Grasp. And you, like, flash TP on Warwick. Like, these stats make no sense, by the way. I think this champion myself, I also think this is bad. Like, that people are itemizing him wrong and have no idea how to build him. I think Eclipse Titanic Hydra is probably the best build. I mean, yesterday we literally played against Hornlime, so let's see how he's doing in general. Hornlime is the best Warwick player we have in EU, probably. With Xilo, but he mainly plays him in jungle. Alright, he goes Titanic Hydra. He goes some Blade Root King, actually. He goes more Blade Root King than I anticipated. This guy's not performing as well as I expected him to be. Like, he was a 1k LP Warwick player, right? My own guess would have been A tier, but I guess it's between A and B tier. When I look at the meta top lane champions, I think he does decent. I kind of want to put him in A tier, but I could be wrong. Because there's like one Warwick player on high elo, right? And can I really base it from that? Because if it was so strong, more people would play him. So I guess maybe B tier. Yasuo, oh no, this dog shit. No, like, no, this champion never performs. If you hate your life, you play Yasuo top. Take a look at these meta champions. Where would you like to play Yasuo into? Besides maybe Cassiopeia. You just get shafted by everything. Yasuo top is like playing... It would be like playing Souls games on no hit. I don't know. That's like Yasuo top. No hit Souls run. You don't do anything. This champion is so hard to pull off in top lane. You're vulnerable to everything. You can only play in the minion, but if you're like a weaker version of Irelia, I just think you're bad. I just don't think this champion is good in top lane. That's it. Oh. But Yone on the other hand, I mean, Zuko is literally challenger with a 75% win rate. And I don't think this champion is actually S tier. I think I put him in A tier. But this champion has always been very strong. Since they buffed his guy's W, he's been super strong. Now, he's extremely good in laning phase, but for 95% of young players, they will go even or win lane, and then they int mid to late, because this champion's skill expression really comes out in mid to late. Like, this champion is very hard to played well mid to late, which is also what I noticed when I played him. Laning phase, very easy to play. After laning phase, it becomes a lot harder. See, I'm not surprised to see a low win rate on the champion. And remember, Zuki, like, look at this open.gg. It says Nemesis, but it's actually Zuki. Look, he's 80% win rate with Yone and Challenger, right? I just think it's more credit to Zuki than to the champion, because again, the champion actually has a bad win rate in general. So I put him in A tier because I do think he is very strong. There's also another top laner. This is the guy we laned against yesterday. This guy was like the rank 3. He's rank 4 right now. This guy also plays a lot of Yone, right? And this is also his most played. So these are like 2 of the highest top laners right now, Zukil and this guy, and they both play Yone. So I do think Yone is very strong, but they're also very good Yone players. I put Yone here. I don't think he's actually S tier. I just think there's some incredibly skilled Yone players. That's it. Wukong, I mean, is he a top laner? No, he's shit. Like, this champion probably has one of the lowest win rates. Okay, look what counter Wukong, right? Look at these champions. They are all S tier. All of these champions are kind of S tier. How is Wukong going to play? Look, you don't get to play the game, bro. Wukong, the problem with Wukong is that he's just a weaker... Like, he's kind of a stat check / fighter bruiser, but he doesn't really have, like... I don't know. He just has a super limited kit, I feel like. I never see Wukong top players in EU West high elo. I don't think he is efficient enough for high elo. I don't think the champion has a high win rate in top lane. I mean, it's extremely low pick rate, but this tells you all you need to know, right? Yorick. I can't see this champion being higher than C tier. Did this champion benefit from the item changes? What would you even build? I'd be very surprised to see Yorick do half decent. I don't know, this champion, again, it's a kind of a stat jack champion, especially after level 6 with the Maiden. The lower you go, the better the champion will do, and high elo just doesn't work. Look at these matchups, you get shafted. Even by some of these champions, you get completely destroyed. I just don't think you're like ever saying, "Ah, I'm gonna have a good game here on the Yorick, man." It just doesn't work like that. I just think it's a bad champion. I mean, the thing is, I actually don't like the counter pick tier list when I think about it, because so many champions could be good in counter pick. So I think we actually have to put these champions somewhere. So I said Akali is S or A tier, so I put it in A tier. I think Malphite is B tier. It's better than these champions in my opinion. And Mundo is C tier. I'm actually going to remove the counter pick tier because I think it adds no value. And that is, I explained why. Swain, also not. Azir. Azir is actually playable on top. Azir is playable, but it's a niche pick for sure. It's actually really strong, I believe, if you're a good Azir. Holy shit, actually. Wait a minute. The pick rate is so low, but look at the meta champions, right? They hate laning against... Again, if I'm Riven, I hate laning against Azir with a passion. I mean, Azir is actually a really strong top lane champion. He is. I put him in A tier. I don't think I can put him in S tier unless you're like actually good on this champion. But if you like, it kind of falls in line with Cassiopeia. Is just that these 2 champions, you will make your opponent's life horrible. What would you counterpick Azir with in top lane? Irelia probably comes to mind. But even then, I think Azir can actually somewhat lane against Irelia, or you could just ban him. What else? You just need ganks. He's as annoying as like a Rumble or Vayne. I just think he's 10 times more skill expressive. Do they actually play Fleet on him? No, they go Halo. Oh my days. I hate laning against Azir top. A good Azir top is one of my biggest nightmares for sure. Damn! And he does play Fleet. Damn! I mean, yeah, if you're like an insane Azir player, I guess you can put him in S tier, like even best, but like, you're not going to be. You're not going to be that good. Yeah, he probably is really good in the current meta against the champions, but you're not going to be that good on Azir. If you are really good on Azir, then yeah, I guess he's actually really, really crazy. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with most of these placements. I think a lot of placements is kind of what I had in mind. What are some outliers? I think Kled I was very surprised with, pleasantly surprised with also.